and hollow. They stand straight up and thicken at the bottom to form a bulb. Onions are biennials. Their life cycle is 2 years long, but they are usually picked during their first year before flowers form and the bulbs stop growing. Onions grow best in loose, fertile soil. They can grow in many different climates. In cooler climates, onions may need 14 to 15 hours of daylight to start forming bulbs. In warmer climates, onions can begin developing bulbs with fewer hours of sun. Barbara Fick is an agriculture expert with Oregon State University. She says a faster way to grow onions is to plant what are called sets. She says onion sets are actually small plants, so growing them does not take as long. Organic material like compost or leaf mulch can help onions grow in heavy soil. The bulbs can be pulled from the ground once their tops have dried and fallen over. Onions can be stored for months, but Barbara Fick says stored onions need to be cured first. Curing is a way of making sure those leaves on the outside are nice and dry, she says. Here are some directions from the National Gardening Association. First, dry the onions in the sun for a day or so. Then bring them out of direct sun for 2 to 3 weeks. Spread them out in any warm, airy place that is covered. Or cover the onions securely with a light cotton sheet. The sheet will keep the sun from burning the bulbs. Do not worry about rain, and do not use a plastic or canvas sheet. Heavy coverings will trap moisture and keep the onions from drying fully. Turn the bulbs a couple of times to help them dry evenly. After curing the onions, you can hang them indoors in mesh bags to dry even more. There should be no wet spots on the onions when they are put in storage. The National Gardening Association says the longer onions are cured, the better they will keep. Some people cut off the top leaves before curing onions. If you do that, do not cut the leaves any closer than 2.5 centimeters from the bulb. That will keep the top of the onion from drying out and spoiling in storage. For more about gardening, go to voaspecialenglish.com. For VOA Special English, I'm Laurel Bowman.
Culture Report. Many people have lettuce in a salad at the beginning of a meal. The ancient Egyptians and Romans had it at the end. Either way, gardening experts say lettuce is one of the easiest vegetables to grow in a garden. There are hundreds of kinds of head and leaf lettuces, besides the most popular choices, like iceberg, Boston, Bibb, and romaine. The best time to plant the seeds is during cool weather. Gardening advisors at the University of Illinois Extension say the best planting temperature is 15 degrees Celsius. You can use a seed tray to start the seeds indoors. The container should be deep enough to hold at least 3 centimeters of soil. Leave about 1 centimeter of space between the soil and the top of the container. The container should have holes in the bottom so extra water can flow out. Cover the seeds lightly with soil. If the soil is not already a little wet, give it some water, but not too much. Too much water could drown the seeds. Next, cover the seed tray with paper. Remove the paper when the seedlings are tall enough to touch it. You can transplant the seedlings into the garden when they are about 2 to 3 centimeters tall. Do this when the weather is not too hot and not too cold. Take out as much of the soil as you can with the seedlings. Plant them in the ground in a hole that is bigger than the lettuce roots. Keep the plants watered, but not too heavily. Planting seeds every week or 2 will provide a continuous supply of lettuce to harvest. Harvest leaf lettuces when the leaves are big enough to eat. Pull the leaves from the outside of the plant so the inner leaves will keep growing. Or cut off the whole plant, but leave about 2 or 3 centimeters so it will regrow. Cut off head lettuces at ground level. Lettuce is best when served fresh. The remainder should be stored in a refrigerator in a plastic bag. Do you grow lettuce or other greens in your garden? Share your gardening stories at voaspecialenglish.com. You can also download daily MP3s and texts of programs to read, listen, and learn English, and much more. Check out the interactive learning in the classroom section. And you can also find us at the VOA Learning English page on Facebook and in the podcast section on iTunes. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Persutti.
English Agriculture Report. Most kinds of rose plants come from Asia, but roses are also native to other areas, including Northwest Africa, Europe, and the United States. In 1986, Congress chose the rose as America's national flower. Technically, Congress and President Ronald Reagan declared it the national floral emblem. Whatever the name, the decision did not smell sweet to supporters of other popular flowers. Some people say roses are difficult to grow, but you have a good chance of success if you start with a few suggestions from experts. You should plant your roses where they can get sunshine for about 6 hours on bright days. You can buy roses from a garden center or by mail order. You can buy potted roses, also known as container roses, or bare root plants. Each kind has its fans. Some gardeners say potted roses are easier to plant. They say the roots develop better. But Jeffrey Dinslodge, president of Nature Hills Nursery in Omaha, Nebraska, points out that bare root roses come without soil, so they weigh less to transport. The University of Illinois Extension advises getting bare root roses as close to planting time as you can. If they arrive before you are ready to plant them, make sure the packing material is moist. Keep the plants in a cool, dark place. You plant the roses while they are dormant. The resting plants have no leaves, but still need water. When growing roses, the soil should feel moist deep down. Watering should be done in the morning. That can prevent problems called black spot and mildew. But do not water too much. Jeffrey Dinslodge says people often ask him about unhealthy discoloration on rose leaves. He says the spots are usually caused by too much water. After heavy rains or too much watering, he advises pulling away mulch temporarily from around the roots. This will help dry the soil. In normal conditions, placing mulch around rose plants is a good idea.